Welcome back to my first rodeo.
Welcome back. Nice to see you, and glad to have everybody here to the show that asks the question, what's so bad about your first rodeo? And lets a lot of really cool people tell us about their first time they did the thing that ultimately led to their coolness.
Yeah, it is a pretty cool idea.
Thank you.
That's why we started a podcast about it.
Our first rodeo.
It's our first rodeo.
It's
our
true.
First podcast.
And today we get close to a rodeo, don't we?
A little close.
A little closer.
A country singer.
Yeah, I don't know. Do country singers, is it one of those things where they sing about stuff, but they don't actually do this stuff?
You know, I don't know about that. They sing about beer.
Right.
Trucks.
Right.
And heartbreak.
Yeah.
And sometimes fishing and hunting.
Yeah, that's probably fair. They all do that. I'm just thinking like the Beach Boys supposedly never surfed, for
yeah,
example.
true. Like,
But,
do the country singers actually hunt and fish?
Yeah, they don't sing about riding horses too often.
I feel like Luke Holmes, Luke Bryan, if you look at all the Lukes, they seem to be pretty authentic.
Yeah.
I can never hate on country. It's my go-to. It's
Is
my
it?
favorite. I just bought Morgan Wallen tickets. They were way too expensive, but I have to go. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of these guys that doesn't seek out country, but I run into country stuff that I like. Obviously, I love Darius Rucker, who started off with Hootie and the Blowfish, and then always had that country sound, but then has become a legit country singer, and I love him.
Speaking of country,
let's
country, talk possums.
Okay, I was thinking I'd like to talk about possums. What you got?
Okay, I have a funny story about something that happened to me this week.
Okay.
So I was sleeping. It was probably around 11:30. And Griffey, my Weiner Dog, who I've talked about before, starts barking. And I wake up my husband and I send him outside. So anyway, he goes outside and our dog's a digger. And he's like, oh, Griffey's just digging. I'm going back to bed. I'm like, okay. So then 30 minutes, we hear Griffey digging again. And Weston gets up and goes outside. And I hear him yell, possum! And
Griffey can yell?
Weston was yelling.
Oh, okay.
So,
that makes more sense.
Yeah. So then I get up and my mom's in town. I run outside and Weston's, oh, Griffey's fighting a possum. Go get a towel, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and I'm the worst person in emergencies. Never call me. Note to you, note to anybody listening.
Right, you weren't even on my top 10 list, to be
Do not
honest.
call me. Okay. Call anybody else. I go and I wake up my mom. I'm like, Mom, get up. Griffey's got a possum.
Right.
So my mom goes outside. Griffey's tug-of-warring on the possum. Weston has the possum in one hand and a garbage bag in the other.
Oh my gosh, they're pretty vicious, aren't they?
Yeah, and it was a big possum.
Yeah.
So Griffey kills the possum. Okay, the possum's deceased.
Possum's about the same size as Griffey now.
The possum. The possum's bigger than Griffey.
Good for Griffey, I
so
guess. I don't know.
Yeah, so then we dispose of the poor possum.
There's a lot of animal murders in your neighborhood, I'm noticing.
And I feel guilty because we just saved Griffey from being mauled, and then here he is in our backyard mauling an animal.
Yeah, this is the second animal in your neighborhood Griffey's responsible for its death.
I never thought of it that way, but you're true. That is true, sadly.
The two that you know of.
Two that I know of.
Yeah.
So then the story gets better.
Okay.
So we throw the possum away.
Oh.
And then the next day, my mom's like, we have to get rid of this possum because we were doing yard work and there were snakes and mice. And my backyard was like Jurassic Park, minus dinosaurs, but other amphibians and stuff. So we get in the car and we go to a medical marijuana dispensary to dump this because who's going to be there on like a Sunday, right?
Okay. I think I'm following.
It's also by my house and the dumpster's always open.
I see. Okay.
So
you're illegally using a pot.
I was thinking this is a great place to dump this possum.
Yeah.
So my mom, she's not a Florida resident. I'm like, you have nothing to lose. Get out and you do it.
Right. And so we have a picture. The possum was in your backyard, but it was attracting other varmints.
We thought it was dead.
So then you pick it up, put it in a bag?
Yeah, and it's in the back of a pickup truck.
Back of a pickup truck.
So my mom gets in the back of the pickup truck to grab the bag.
Right.
And she picks it up, and it's alive.
Oh, no. It was playing possum.
It's squirming and growling and trying to get out of the bag, and my mom throws it down.
And that's what they're known for, playing possum.
Playing
they pretend they're dead.
And she's like, it's alive!
That's their defense
and
mechanism.
Of course, another emergency situation, I'm like, get out of the car, Weston, go help her now!
That possum should get like an award for acting because that's For a whole day
And this
now.
was a whole day, like a
Yeah.
whole night went
Wow.
by. We
He
were
was
tanning
selling
at the
it.
pool all day, enjoying our day. So then Weston gets out and he's like, "No, she's crazy. It's not alive.
Right.
It's alive."
Uh-huh.
So the possum was alive
And so you leave the possum
at the medical.
partially alive at the medical
Yeah,
marijuana place?
we gave it a new home.
I don't know how to respond. I think you've just confessed to
then
several crimes.
But then I felt really bad about it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go back.
Huh.
But then we went
And
to
do what?
just to take care of the possum. I wanted to make sure it was okay.
Huh. Yeah,
Like,
probably not. I mean,
right?
You buried it. Your dog
I was
chewed on
gonna
it.
take it to the vet. I don't know.
The possum vet. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
So
quite a
then
story.
after that, we went and got oysters, and I forgot about it.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's my country story of the week.
that sounds like a country we need to get.
Griffin and the possum.
Yeah, absolutely. Our first guest, you need to give him those lyrics and at least that narrative. See if he can turn it into a song.
Yes. Our first guest is Reed Foley,
Yeah.
a local country singer.
Local. He's more than that right now.
Yeah, well, he started locally.
Right. Everybody does.
I keep saying local because I want him to go globally for him, but I want him to stay locally because I'm really going to miss him if he ever moves away.
Well, I can't wait to meet him.
Yes. Here he is.
Cool.
My first rodeo. My first rodeo. My first rodeo.
Okay, Mike, I'm so excited to introduce you today to a friend of mine, a famous musician, a super talented guy. My husband, who hates country music, loves Reed and his music. We have Reed Foley here, upcoming country star.
Not even upcoming. You're moving up the charts, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a really crazy couple of months. Lots changed since last year, so it's been neat.
So if you don't know Reed, which you probably do on Spotify, he has a very popular song called "Beer Needs Drinking." And when I say it, it's one of those songs where you have to sing it to say it, like beer needs drinking.
Yeah, I don't think Reed wants you doing that again.
No, I do actually. That's better than what I hear some nights.
Yeah, and it's at number 52 now and has over 500,000 streams.
Well, not that country music is a rodeo, but our podcast is called My First Rodeo because we ask people about their firsts. You get as close to rodeoing, or at least rodeo people, I'm assuming, of any of our guests so far. But tell us what that's like. I gotta imagine when you create a song, that's cool. But you hope one day to hear people singing it back to you. But what's that like?
Oh my God, that is the coolest feeling ever, and I've just recently got to experience it. It's been entirely different. So this is not my first song I've ever released. I want to say this is number 5 or 6 that we've put out into the world. And there's always these people that are just really close, right? I've played local shows in Florida for years, like 10, 15 years I've been playing out. And so you always have your mom, right? And you got your couple of friends from church and your buddies at the bar, and there's always those small circles. And when you pull this song out that has 5,000 streams globally,
Right.
they do know every word. And so I had a handful of those, and it was always really cool to have somebody come say, "Hey, would you sing this song?" Right. But then we put out Beer Needs Drinking, and local radio stations are playing it, and radio stations all over the world are actually playing this thing, and then it gets 500,000 streams, and all of a sudden when I go and I play my show, I can't even get through the first set without people, they're like screaming they want to hear it, or at the end of the night, "Hey, play it one more time." And even the other night, I finally there were so many people I did not recognize. I didn't know their faces. I'd never seen them before. And yet I'm like, oh my God, they know every word to this song. This is different. It's really different. And it is the coolest feeling in the world.
Yeah, and I've seen it. He definitely has girls that follow him to like the local bar, and they're at the stage and they're dancing and singing. And the first time I saw Reed, it was probably 2 months ago. I thought, who is this guy? He's in Florida. He's playing at a local bar, but it was a star on stage. And then I automatically DM'd him that night. DM means direct message for people. that night when he was still playing, I said, "You have to come on my podcast. Like, you are so good." So I've talked to Reed in person a bunch because he's just so cool. But Reed, tell us about when you first picked up a guitar, first played, your first show. Like, how old were you? Where were you? All of that.
I actually was laying awake last night trying to think about this because music has been a part of my life as long as I have a memory. There's a video of me, my parents have, of like me being 3 or 4 years old and, pecking around on a piano. And, just the house was always filled with music. I do remember getting piano lessons when we came to Florida, so that would have been about the time I was 6 or 7. I remember playing music in elementary school, but then I just kept gravitating. Actually, piano was my first instrument. Some people tell you I actually play that better than I do guitar. And then, but I always piano wasn't cool. Growing up, it um, just didn't work for me, I guess. And so I wanted to learn to play guitar. That was the cool thing, right? You could take it anywhere. Wasn't as heavy, and girls like guys that plays guitar. And I my first, you know, gig. I'll tell the lead up if that's all right for this.
Yeah.
So we were driving from where we live in Port Orange to this Mexican restaurant down in New Smyrna Beach that we loved, and it was just me, my parents, and a couple of friends of theirs, I think from church. And as we're going by this bar, there's an airport in New Smyrna Beach on US 1. There's this bar sits out front, and as we're going by this, not even bar, it's like a restaurant. As we're going by it, they have a sign that says open mic night Thursday, like 7 o'clock. And Dad's like, we should take him and let him go sing a song, right? And I've been singing in church for years, and all this other stuff. I'm like, sure, like I want to do it. Why not? So we go in, they sign me up. I jump up, and there was a piano, and so I decided I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna play a song, right? And they let me. Well, the manager of that bar ends up being a friend of mine for a long time. Used to work with Eddie Money and all these other people, and he's like, "Hey, man, like, would you like to play here? I'd like to offer you, you come play." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'd love to do that." And so, me and my dad were close. I was 15 at this time, 15 years old. And so they offered us up, I think it was $80 for me and my dad and one other kid to come play. We had to split $80 between the three of us to play for 3 hours, and they gave us all food. And I thought I had made it, man. I mean, my friends were working at Publix or McDonald's, and Dad, of course, didn't take the money. He didn't want any. The other kid, he played drums, and he only wanted like $30. I gave him $10 an hour because we played 3-hour sets. And I'm like, man, I'm making $50 on a Saturday night plus tips, and I'm getting fed. Oh, I thought I'd made it.
You were famous.
It wasn't hard to play 3 hours of music.
Oh, it was terrible. That your voice, people don't realize it's a muscle. It works like any other thing. The more you practice, the more you use it, the better it gets, the stronger it is. And it was probably a big part of why it helped to have Dad, was Dad also sings and plays guitar. And so I'd play piano. This kid would play drums to give us a little extra sound. And Dad would sing, and we'd take turns singing like 50% of the songs. But by time each show was over, after 2 or 3 hours of playing, my throat would hurt for days. Whereas now I play 3, 4, 5 shows a night. Sometimes I'll do 2 shows in one day, and I don't hardly tell a difference between one day to the next.
I'm picturing a little you, a younger you. Now, I noticed at least a fair proportion of your songs on Spotify involve alcohol. Obviously, your big song out now. You got another one about whiskey. What was little you singing about?
Probably just about. I think most of the songs then were just about girls. Everything. You get your song about either your first crush or
Right.
first broken heart. I'm pretty sure I had more than one song about a truck, like any good country singer. And even at that, I mean, country music, even what you heard on the radio, and it's changed a little bit. It's gotten more, I don't know, progressive is the right word, but more liberal with just what you're
Mm,
allowed to sing and talk about. There's plenty of beer drinking song. You look at 5 o'clock somewhere,
mhm.
beer 30. So, it was kind of funny. And I've seen this, I've seen this even today in Nashville. You got kids that are, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. They can't drink, but they're singing songs about it, and nobody called them on it, I don't think.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I'm sure they're uh, drinking without.
They're imagining what it would
Yeah,
be like to drink.
yeah. So the first time you wrote a song and had it recorded, do you record it on your iPhone? How do you go from A to B with recording your first song?
So specifically my first one, or do you want to know more about what the process is like? Because
Like your first one.
my first song that I ever recorded professionally, right? Like,
Yes.
they started writing all these lyrics down and kind of had something. And it's on Spotify. It's called "Who's Turning You On," and it is the first song I ever remember writing and recording. We, so I wrote this one by myself, and I just had all these words and just started writing, and it wasn't based on something very like there wasn't this true story that I was trying to bring to life. There was just kind of this one moment that had happened that made me kind of start thinking, and I just kind of went with it. And I wrote the whole song in a couple of hours. Ended up taking that through the guy that gave me my first gig. He introduced me to a producer who lives here in the Florida area, and that producer, I ended up playing him a handful of songs. He said, "Man, these are good. If you want to, do this for a career, we need to take you to Nashville and go in the studio." And so I just go in, literally just guitar and lyric sheet, and just play these 3, 4, 5 songs for this guy. And that one in particular is like, we need to record this. We got to get this thing, in Nashville and do it right. And so that was that process for the first song.
I like that song, by the way. It's definitely, what do you call them, a crossover song. It's one that certainly has a country feel, but it's mainstream as well.
My favorite compliment anybody gives me is when they say, "I don't like country music, but I really like yours," right? Because to me, I think I understand what they mean.
Mm,
To me, country music is the greatest genre in the world, but to other people, it's not. And I understand that. I listen to everything and I like everything. And that's probably why a lot of my songs kind of transcend that genre, even though they still sound super country. You're not going to listen to me sing with my accent and go, "Oh, wow, that sounds like something, Dr. Dre produced." It's not going to
right.
happen. It's a
Not
different
really.
world.
No, no, that's right. I like it when people say, I don't like lawyers, but you're okay. So,
Yeah.
That's good.
So I've tried to write songs. Obviously, I'm not successful.
and she's going to sing one for us right now.
Totally not. But do you feel like songwriters, I don't know the word, excel in English class? Or if you weren't singing them, would you be writing poetry on the side?
You've
You know
noticed
what
the
I mean?
grammar of beer needs drinking, right?
Yeah.
When it
Don't
come
think
to
you could
school,
diagram the sentence.
when it came to school, I don't think I excelled at much of anything except lunch. I was really good at that, personally. uh, no, I think that the best songwriters are ones who know how to tell you they know how to say something that everyone else is feeling, but they can't put it into words. That's to me what makes a really good songwriter. You have to have a voice. You have to have something you want to say. Everyone has their heart broke at some point in life, right? Let's be honest. Like everyone has life experiences. It's just, how do you say it in a way that people feel, but they just haven't put words to yet? And to me, that's, I'm trying to think of a great example to give you. And I'm thinking Carly Pierce's new song that she put out last year, Never Wanted to Be That Girl. And it's a duet with this other girl about this thing where she meets this guy, and, they end up she had a flat tire. He changes it. They go to the bar. They end up hooking up, and they were hooking up for like 6 months before she realized all of a sudden, hey, he's married, right? And
Mm.
so that's so she's like, wow, I never wanted to be this. I never wanted to be that girl that was, with a married man. Well, then they come to the next version of that and flip it over, and then all of a sudden, Carly Pierce is singing, and she's singing it, about I heard all these people who made excuses like my mom and all this other stuff. And I always thought that, that I wanted more from my marriage than this. I didn't want this kind of a marriage. And then she hits the chorus. And it's like, I never wanted to be that woman who was married to that man who was cheating. So you just had a song that came from two different perspectives and told two stories at once. To me, that is just world class songwriting, because you're not only are you telling one person's story that maybe they can't really put into words, you're finding a way to say it for them. Then you're actually doing that for two people at the same time. That kind of stuff to me is where songwriting just blows me away.
It's an art. I feel like you're born with it or you're not.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know. Belmont in Nashville has songwriting classes, and some people come out of there that can write circles around me. And I don't know if they're born with it or not, but they've refined it.
But talk about what makes a song or a subject for a song interesting to you. How do you create? And I'm sure there's a lot of ideas you have that don't go anywhere, and then sometimes they bear fruit. What's the difference?
I think it's all in the hook and the setup.
Mhm.
I've been real honest about Beer Needs Drinking. It's not my best song I've ever written by any means. It's just fun, and
Right.
it makes it radio friendly. The reason it's doing so well at radio for us as an independent artist is because it's fun to sing, it's catchy, and that makes a song, good in one way. In the other way, to me, is when you have a song you write where you have such a strong idea that really hasn't been done before, and you have a way to set it up. I've got a new song coming out at the end of March, early April. So, really excited about this song's called Ain't the First Time. And Ain't the First Time, but I think it might be the last is the setup, right?
Mm.
That's the hook. And it's a song that we wrote about a guy who's basically him and his wife are getting divorced pretty much. Um, we were the way this song came about is because we were sitting in Nashville. We were trying to write a song, totally different idea. Can't even remember what that idea was. Me and two other writers, and we were starting to give up. Said, "Well, ain't the first time. Yeah, won't be the last." And Brett Strokey, who's one of the writers on the song, says, "We could probably write that." And we just started with that one line. That was the idea, and we started talking about stories and ideas and how are we going to work this, what perspective, and I told him a story about this episode of Seinfeld. Have you ever seen the episode of Seinfeld where they talk about relationships are like vending machines, and that they don't fall over in one go? You have to rock them back and forth a few times,
Yeah.
then they go over. And that's the whole idea that we came up with for this song. We started writing around that idea of, everyone knows that couple that's on again and off again and on again and off again. And basically this song is, here we go again. We're fighting. She's screaming and things are, going on. And all of a sudden she is tearing out that drive and she's getting in her car and she's leaving. And like, that's not the first time that's happened, but I think
Right.
it might be the last. It just
Wow.
felt different. And that's the song that's coming out that we're so excited about. That's our next one.
Wow, that's a really neat moment to capture in a song. No, I mean it.
Yeah, I've heard the song. You played it at the bar a few weeks ago, and it was very good. And the response to the crowd was very good. My dad was there, and it was the first time he saw Reed, and he said, "Is this on the radio? This needs to be on the radio. That's his best song." And I said, "It's not yet. It's coming out." He was excited, so I'm excited for the song to come out, and I'm sure you'll have many more coming out too. Are you planning on doing an album anytime soon?
No, being honest, albums are so weird now. Our society is we're just in the TikTok society and the mindset. If you're scroll, and so think about if you're being honest, and let me ask you guys a question. When's the last time you sat down and listened to one artist sing 10 songs consecutively on a record? And I mean, you could do that on your phone, or you could do
Yeah.
it however. I don't, YouTube. When's the last time you really sat down and say, I really want to hear this one person sing 10 songs in a row?
No, I'll
I
put
normally go to their Spotify and
right,
do like this is Morgan Wallen or Morgan Wallen Radio,
right.
but I never just go to one of his albums, like the Dangerous album, and play it. So I guess you're right. And the last time I ever bought an album, honestly, I think it was a Lizzie McGuire movie album.
That's a little while ago. I'm hoping it's a little while
It was
ago.
a really long time ago.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, we all know classic albums, but current albums, I mean, if it's not Taylor Swift
Yeah.
or somebody that, they could just sneeze and everybody's going to buy their album, I think singles are where it's at, right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, and that's more or less my point. It's like it's just hard for anybody to digest that much material at once. I've always thought, you know, at some point you want to be different. So like I think doing 2 songs or 3 songs at a time might be a thing. Um, but at the same time, the way the algorithm is written for Spotify and Apple Music and some of these big streaming services, they want you to feed it every 5 or 6 months. Facebook has algorithms, same thing, they want you to post one thing a day. If you don't, then your score goes down on the back end, or at least that's what we get told. I don't know how much of that's true, but for me, we have Beer Needs Drink came out in October, which caused us to just miss December completely, obviously, because it was Christmas. The next song, you know, um, we're releasing this one coming out at the end of March, early April. And then from there, it's probably every 6 weeks you just start releasing one new song until at some point you could compile them and, say you get 5 out that you like and you have 2 or 3 more, then you could compile those together and say, okay, this is the album. But in reality, the album's been out. You've already heard, 75% of it by the time the album drops.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, back in the album day, even bands that I liked, and I'm older than you guys, so I used to buy albums before they were a throwback thing. They were the first round. And, there were always 4 or 5 songs you didn't like on it, or 3 or 4. So I think the idea of, putting them out and letting the viewers decide what they like without regard to whether it's part of a, collection is probably, the most marketable way to do it.
We talk about this as artists all the time amongst ourselves, but there's never been a better or more scary time to be an artist because you can get your audience is at your fingertips and you can
Right.
reach them. But at the same time, you are more subject to criticism and failure than ever before because it used to be like getting a record deal or a pub deal or whatever it may be down, each one of those, it was like, all right, now this going to prop me up. There's like some guarantees here. Whereas now it's like, that stuff it's more of part of the journey than it is like the destination, I think.
Mm.
And so when you're going out through this process, and that's the career you're chasing, um, that you have to kind of come back to you can reach everyone if you do it yourself. If you're engaging with people, then there's that organic opportunity.
Hmm. I mean, talk about the sort of the business side of things, because again, old days, music is where you made your money. The concerts were how you promoted the music. My understanding, it's the exact opposite now. You're not making much money from the music. Even Taylor Swift's not making much. Well, maybe she's not a good example, but most artists are not making a lot of money from the music. It's the concerts, and so talk about that and talk about what concert opportunities you see growing now that your music success is growing.
Yeah, that's actually great. Great point. It used to be that way. Album sales were the driver, and that used to be record companies. They took percentage of your record sales. Now they're called 360 deals. They need a little bit of everything because they're working really hard to get your career going, and they put a lot of money in. You can't slight them because it's a business and they're trying to, make sure they're taking care of themselves and being able to keep putting more artists out there. Um, but it used to be that way. Now, touring is where you make all of your money. You can't play for exposure. and go, hey, we're going to let you go sing, whatever it may be. I'll give you an example. I've done some NASCAR races, right? Those are great. I got paid to do those. If they called me and said, hey, we want you to come play it for exposure, you're probably going to say, hey, I can't do it. There's never going to be enough return, no matter how much you expose me to your audience, unless there's something to it that if it's going to be televised, or like Dirk Bentley plays the Daytona 500, that's totally different. But no, I make more money, and this is honest truth, in 1 or 2 weeks of going out and playing shows. I probably see more money come in than I have seen from 500,000 streams of Beer Needs Drinking.
Right.
That's surprising.
And so you see these guys with 18 million, 20 million streams on a song, and you're like, all right, well, 500,000 times 10, 20, 30, whatever it is to get you that number, like it's not a lot of money, but the money is in people buying your merch and touring, licensing. If your song gets in a movie or a TV show, I think that's where artists are able to actually make some money off of it. Otherwise, you're doing it because you love it.
Yeah. We got to get your song in a Yellowstone episode.
Yes, absolutely. Are you guys Yellowstone fans?
I do
Yeah.
like Yellowstone.
I love it. And they've been having country stars come in and, shadow. So I'm like, let's
Play a little party on the
yeah,
show.
Yeah.
So how can people get your merch as long as you're on the show? Where can we find your merch?
So you could go to everything's reedfoley.com. Or if you're on social media, you want to find some of that stuff, it's on just Reed Foley Music. And there's a lot of, like I think you can buy it direct through Facebook or Instagram. You can definitely buy everything from reedfoley.com. We've got, some shirts, hoodies, hats, got a really cool bottle opener. It says Beer Needs Drinking. So
Very cool. Good product placement. So, obviously you have some shows of your own. I'm guessing you're getting some opportunities or expect some more to open up for some big acts as well.
Yeah. So we're pretty excited this year. The big goal is to get out of Florida.
No, that's so sad for us.
Well, so I moved to Nashville part-time in 2017, and I was there for 2 years. My mom ended up getting diagnosed with lung cancer and passed away. And so I ended up spending a lot of 2019 here with her and with dad. And then 2020, the pandemic hits, and me and my roommate at the time agreed that, hey, we just don't really want to keep this place, trying to downsize, because it kind of gutted the whole industry for a couple of months there, and arguably for a couple of years. So when this song Beer Needs Drink came out, all of a sudden, I started hearing from people about, hey, you want to come play this show? Can we get you in this venue? So we're planning on doing a lot of shows this year, in new venues, new areas. Should be going to like South Carolina, North Carolina, obviously Tennessee. Might have one for Louisiana, a couple in Maryland, New York. We're trying to book all of those, and right now we're just taking all the phone calls and trying to make the logistics work. It's still, I'm not unrealistic. I haven't made it, and so I'm still very much an unknown entity and commodity for a lot of people, I guess. So we're trying to prove that, hey, if you pay us, we can make you that money back.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of opportunities starting to come around that we didn't have last year, so it's cool.
Good for you. It's really cool to see you build on that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where he goes, even though if you leave Florida. But we all want the best for you.
Well, it's not like I wouldn't be back. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah, you can never be too far from Disney World. Reed's a huge Disney guy.
Really?
Yes, love Disney.
So, are you upset as a country person to see the log flume leave? That's the little taste of redneck at Disney. They're getting rid of it for just that reason.
Well, yeah, a little bit. I mean, I get it. I understand why they're doing it. Princess and the Frog is, really cool movie. I think I love the music in that one. So I hope they use some of the tunes from that and redo it and make it cool. What I'd like to see Disney do, and this is going to make me absolutely be country, is I'd like to see them update and redo the Country Bear Jamboree.
What?
Yeah.
No, you have why?
One time in the last 5 years, and I can't understand the words because the animatronics are so old.
They are pretty old. Yeah, and their mouths don't move very well. They do have some antiquated things.
But it's the place to be when you're hot. You want to be
Yeah.
alone because no one else is there, and you just need a minute to yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I've had many a good nap in the Country Bear
Yeah.
Jamboree and the President's
In
Hall
the
of Fame.
President's Hall, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That,
it's
that- I
all
guess
liberties.
I was gonna say if I need that, I'll go with the bar. But honestly, you can't do that at Magic Kingdom. I usually find myself like Epcot, plenty of places, right? Same thing with Hollywood Studios. Like you can
Right.
find a bar. Magic Kingdom, a little more difficult.
There's no beer for drinking.
There isn't.
You should have done your music you should do a music video at Magic Kingdom for Beer Needs Drinking and just hand it out to all the Disney dads. That would go so viral.
That would be awesome. But we both know Disney would sue me and make sure I never did anything ever again. And right.
Yeah, and you don't want to get banned from Disney.
They do have some money and
Yeah.
some lawyers.
Yeah. So Reed, last question. Well, more of a comment. Tell everyone where you're going for your honeymoon. Reed got married a few months ago, right?
And the honeymoon's in the future tense, not the
Yeah.
past tense.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. When depends when this comes out, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's fair. That's true. But still, if you were married some time ago and you haven't honeymooned yet, what's going on there, man?
So now, our wedding was a disaster thanks to the flood. We had to redo everything. The hurricanes and we had our house flooded. So we ended up getting married. This sounds like such a terrible thing. So our backup plan ended up being getting Disney to squeeze us into something there. We got married at Disney World and then did like a mini moon there. But we're actually going to Paris.
Nice.
March in the middle of March, and
You're not just going to Paris. You're going to Disneyland in Paris.
going to go to Disneyland in Paris for a couple days while we're there. So we're pretty excited.
Interesting. And you've never been there, have you, Liv?
No.
Yeah, I took my son there. In fact, when my son turned 10, I let him pick a trip anywhere, and he said he wanted to go to Paris, and I was like, well, that's cool. He goes, because I want to go to Disney World, just outside of Paris. And he'll tell you to this day that he says that Disney World Paris is kind of like the regular Disney World with people smoking. It's I think
that's
Goofy
good.
even
All
had
right.
a cigarette, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I don't know how many years ago was that?
He's 24 now, so yeah, that's a good 14 years ago.
I'd be interested to see. All right. I don't know. I'm pretty excited because like their Space Mountain is like Star Wars themed, so I think that's
Okay.
really cool.
that's
So like I don't know, they just got some different stuff there, and we're pretty big into Disney. I think Florida, it's such a great thing they have for all their residents here. Like even if I move to Nashville full time, I'm probably going to keep it Florida's driver's license so I can keep an annual pass.
just for Disney reasons.
I love that. That's very cool. Maybe a Disney song in your future.
Maybe you can play at Epcot at the America Pavilion.
I would probably break my own neck to do that, and I would definitely break my own neck to somehow get a song in a Disney movie. I would love to. I would love a movie opportunity to do something country, and work on like Toy Story 5 or something and play a tune for it.
I would love to see the Country Bear Jamboree singing "Beer Needs Drinking." I think that'd be amazing.
They have wine in it. But anyway, Reed, thank you so much for coming. We loved having you. Remind everyone again when your song's coming out, where to find it, and what it's called.
Yeah, be looking for it. It'll be March 31st. The song's called "Ain't the First Time," and you can find it on all streaming platforms. And then if you're looking for me anywhere, like I said, Reed Foley Music on social media or reedfoley.com.
Perfect.
Thanks, man. You're a class act. We appreciate you spending time with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Bye, Reed.
My first rodeo. My first rodeo. My first rodeo.
Yeah, last time I was at the bar, Reed plays a lot in New Smyrna Beach. For all our Florida viewers, he plays at local bars at the Flagler Avenue, that little downtown area. And all the girls are always asking him to sing all his songs, and they all know the words. But last time he played The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
That's a great one.
It's such a good one, and it's one that you wouldn't think you can play on a guitar because it has that fiddle. He killed it.
Yeah.
Like, I had chills, and everyone, if you looked around, it was one of those rare moments where everyone was just in awe. And that was his last song. He basically just threw the guitar down. It was like, I'm done. And we were all like, oh my gosh. It was crazy. So he's a talent. He's so humble too, which is amazing. I mean, I think he's gonna make it far. Maybe one day he'll be top 10, touring the world, and we'll have him back. But
That'd be great. He's a performer and just a nice person too.
yeah, such a great person. Just your typical Florida boy.
Yeah, good catch, Liv.
Yes. So, and I'll have to catch up with him after his Paris trip and see if the Disneyland did have a lot of smokers at it.
Yeah, I think it's required. I think it's legally required when you get off the plane in France. They give you a pack of cigarettes. Sometimes on the plane.
Are they like they're long ones, like in Corilla de Ville?
It's a full variety.
Okay.
Just it's required that you carry a loaf of bread under your arm
A
and smoke a cigarette.
A loaf of bread and a cigarette.
As my
that's
experience,
funny.
anyway. Yeah.
I've been to Paris and I didn't notice any smoking, but I think I was probably eyes up in the air looking at all the buildings instead
I
of the
guess.
people.
I don't know how you missed that.
I don't know.
So
But yeah, Reed Foley, everyone.
that was a great show. Thanks.
Yeah.
Five